Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be looking at some of the day one results from Vancouver that you just saw earlier today. Some pretty interesting niche Pokemon came up here, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this as well. We'll do like a full recap, of course, after tomorrow, but at the very least, there were some pretty interesting ideas coming out here from day one results. So what we're going to do first, of course, is look at the usage rates from both the non-restricted Pokemon and the restricted Pokemon as well here. And again, if you're wondering like what kind of website I'm using that I can already access the teams, this is from Pokédata, and you can access this, clicking on their link that I'm going to put in the video description below. But they always have like these live standings here, so you can always look at this even when the tournament is even happening at that moment there. So I kind of like that, which is why a video like this is even possible, even though we're only recording this about an hour after Swiss rounds have ended there. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and let's go back into the usage data and let's see what day one looks like. Okay, so this is what day one looks like here, and remember, this is 5 months now into a format here, and a lot of this is just not really going to change from here on out. You may see like some repositioning amongst the top 12 here, but at the very least, this is exactly what we're looking at for a while now, and probably till the end of the format, in all honesty, right? The only difference between this graphic and EUIC is that there's an Iron Hands over here over something like a Chiyu, right? There may be some fluctuation in day two, right, where the Chiyu may be able to re-enter the graphic, but for the most part, this is your 12 here. And these are like the best Pokemon that you're just able to partner with your restricteds, right? Especially the popular ones. Like, you know what you're getting with Urshifu, Incineroar, and Amoonguss. That's your very classic Fire, Water, Grass core. Sometimes Rillaboom can just fill that in there as well. You have the Landers there, always trying to squeeze in top 12 usage there, the bottom half there. But again, Landers is just a really good check into Miraidon. You're forcing them to Terra into the Fairy type, and then from there, if you're able to do that, you can probably click a Sludge Bomb into that and just win from there. You have ideas like Farigiraf and Whimsicott here for good support ideas. Just Farigiraf clicking Trick Room, Whimsicott clicking Tailwind, and then at the same time, remember what Farigiraf can do: deny priority. And look at how much priority you have on this list. Look at all the fake out mons you have here. You have Incin, you have Rillaboom, you have Iron Hands here. They want to like fake out. You have Aqua Jet, you have Grassy Glide, you have Thunderclap here, a Sucker Punch from Chanpao, so much of that. And then Farigiraf can just kind of shut a lot of that down there, right? And then Ogerpon Heartflame, again, just a very strong offensive mon that can also provide support with Follow Me redirection. And then if you tear it, it does even more damage, right? It gets an attack boost there. But this is nothing new, okay? And I'm not really going to dwell on it, right? So I'm just going to move forward here. But again, these are like your staples that you're able to put on a lot of different restricteds here. So when you do like regulationG team building and you pick your restricted, ideally a lot of these, maybe even like 2 to 3 of them can come onto your team. And then you'll find like the last 1 or 2 slots there just to counter a specific matchup, or maybe just something for another restricted that your team of 5 that can't really answer yet. But these are like the main staples here that we're looking at, okay? But now if we look at the restricted data, okay, so let's move on over here. Now we have something like this. And again, no real changes here, amongst the top 3. Like you have Miraidon, Ice Rider, and Calyrex Shadow Rider. These will always fluctuate between 1, 2, and 3, depending on the region that you're participating in and where at what point in the format are you playing in, right? This is now month 5 here. This has been well established that these 3 are the best restricteds for now, right? And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon here. And then you have Zamazenta here at 4th place there. Zamazenta, again, very good A-tier restricted Pokemon, and able to put pressure on pretty much a lot of things, especially with like Heavy Slam / Behemoth Bash. You can snipe those Fluttermanes too, but Body Press just ignores Intimidate, and this is also why Terapagos is very down in usage. Right now it's down to 6.6%, and Kyogre is now above that. And I thought we would see that at EUIC. We barely almost saw it, right? I think just by like 0.01% in day 1 there. And now Kyogre officially has like a decent amount of percentage points above it, right? How about Koraidon there? Now, you knew Koraidon would come up a little bit more now, especially after Mr. Wolf Glick was able to win with it. And now Koraidon teams now have risen a little bit. Not necessarily even Wolf's team, right? Just like Koraidon balance teams in general, with some of them opting for Tailwind support too. We can preview those a little bit in a second, but Kyogre and Koraidon now looking pretty good, amongst the, besides the big three, right? And of course, what separates the big three from everything else? No drawback to their spread move, right? Like again, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Ice Rider, Glacial Lance and Astro Barrage. Again, we've been saying this for every single recap tournament video. There's just no drawback to these moves. They're gonna do a ton of damage. They're not checked by your HP or your accuracy, unlike Kyogre or Groudon. So as a result, it's just very easy to click those moves. Less stressful for that matter. And then of course, Miraidon is just a big nuke with its terrain. So sometimes we'll see the Ice Rider over the Miraidon, but again, it's still very, very good. And it just goes to show you that Luca Cherubelli's World Championship team with Miraidon is still good even right now. Like that, it's crazy. Like that team was made, back in August, and now it's still strong right now. So it just goes to show you how really good it is. And Groudon just trying its best, man. It's getting on the graphic, and that's all you really can ask out of Groudon at this point, man. Precipice Blades is just tough, man. You miss that, and it can just cost you the game, right? So, but at the very least, you're on the graphic. Okay, but anyway, let's take a look at some of these teams here, and let's see what was cooking in day one. All right, so let's run through some of these teams here, and let's see what was happening amongst day one here. So at number one here, 8-0 from Mr. Joe Ugarte himself, of course. And this looks like his EUIC team. In fact, I think it is exactly the same. I see the same moves, the same Terras here. Maybe Joe made some EV spread adjustments there, but for the most part, this is pretty much what he's running from EUIC. It's the Ditto Grimmsnarl additions along with Volcarona offensive setup, right? So you've got the Miraidon here with the Iron Hands. That is not new, right? But instead of something like Whimsicott or even Farigiraf here, we're opting for Grimmsnarl here and a Ditto here. So the Ditto can, of course, copy a Restricted there. It can also copy something else that maybe you can even copy like a Prankster Pokemon like Tailwind, and then you can just go from there, right? Make your Miraidon faster, ideally. But you're playing rather defensive with the screen support here, all right? But you also have some speed control too, because you have Thunder Wave here, the hacks. You have Foul Play, which is pretty good into the Calyrexes. Volcarona, again, loves the fake out and the screen setup for the Quiver Dance ideas. Volcarona looking pretty good against something like a Zamazenta for that matter. Iron Hands, of course, with Volt Switch, able to switch out there. And then you could even hard switch your Miraidon if they summon Rillaboom on you. You could just do that and then bring back in Miraidon on the same turn. And then you get to reset your terrain ultimately, right? So I do like Volt Switch here. And then, Rapid Strike Urshifu with the Mystic Water is going to do a lot of damage too. So you could even just use this and clean up certain games, after everything has taken a lot of different chip damage. But, let's see how far Joe will go with this. And then you have Lunala at number 2 here. And I like this a lot here. Lunala Indeedee ideas with Tailwind support. We've spoken about this in our Lunala team building video. Theoretically, Roaring Moon works here as well. If Roaring Moon can work well with Calyrex Shadow Rider, then it can work well with Lunala as well. And we spoke about this in our previous videos, right? Because again, the Dark Ghost typing goes really, really well together, right? Because again, just remember, Roaring Moon being weak to fighting, you can pivot in your Lunala, and now all of a sudden that does no damage because you can't click a fighting move into a Ghost type. And then at the same time, you have expanding force pressure with the Indeedee, right? So this is pretty well established already. And then from here, look at this. You have your Landers. That's going to help you for Miraidon games here. Roaring Moon, again, with the Dragon typing, really good against the Fire, Water, Grass stuff. You can pressure Amoonguss and Rillabooms here. We've spoken a lot about Roaring Moon too. Ogerpon, Heartflame, again, another redirector on this where you can just also deal some damage here. I would not be surprised if this was like a slower idea or a slower Adamant build just to take a little bit more advantage of maybe the Trick Room idea. But look at this. You have also Alluring Voice there. Confusion, with stat boost. Think about all the photosynthesis running around and all the setup running around there. This could be really, really clutch here. And then Sash Urshifu with Taunt, right? So you're giving up Jet here, but that's okay because, you have Psychic Terrain. Can't really click Jet. But really cool to see Lunala so high here, right? And, expanding force pressure with +1 Meteor Beam damage. This can just one-shot Incineroars right now, especially with their, popular Impish builds. they're giving up careful nature, and even if they were careful, you still have a very, very high roll to pick it up anyway. So this is pretty cool. Let's see how far Lunala can go. Tehran Birdie here, again, this is pretty much a lot of what we've seen already. This is your very standard Miraidon team here. So that's pretty cool here. But then look at this. All right, look, the hard Trick Room idea with Calyrex Ice Rider. You have the Torkoal Smeargle idea. This looks like one of our rentals, right? But the only difference now is you're adding Gallade and Hatterene here. So we're changing up the hard Trick Room team a little bit, right, by adding these pieces. But these are also familiar pieces amongst hard Trick Room, right? You've seen Gallade before. You've seen Indeedee, Hatterene before with Torkoal and Ursaluna engines, right? But now we're just adding Calyrex Ice Rider as our restricted to that. So, this is pretty cool. Let's see how far this goes as well. Again, 7-1, great result here. And then from Abdullah, right, a familiar player amongst Canada, right, especially, with the regional results that they've had. And, again, remember, they do have that regional win in, I think it was like 2 years ago, or was it last year? No, I think it was 2 years ago, right? So look at this. Again, this is the Terrapagos Heatran idea here with the berry. Now, I was going to do like a whole video on like Heatran, after this one, but it's pretty cool right now just to see Terra Fairy Heatran rising in the meta a little bit. And just to give you a little bit of perspective, there's a couple ways you can run this. You could do this like with the more supportive Citrus Berry, or you could do something like the Zoom Lens idea, just to help you out with accuracy. But a basic EV spread like this lets you survive, with your Terra Fairy. This lets you survive, the Surging Strikes from Urshifu, Adamant, 252 with the Chien-Pao on the field, Terra as well. So you're able to live that. And then the rest just goes into special defense there. So this is pretty cool just to see that. But again, what's the goal of Heatran? Especially with Terra Fairy, this helps you against Zamazenta, right? Because what you're able to do is Zamazenta can't click its fighting move on you. And then at the same time, something like Koraidon, same thing. You can't click a fighting move, and you really can't click a fire move either because of Flash Fire, right? So you're just able to resist all of that completely, which is really, really cool. And then at the same time, you're dealing big damage against both of them. Especially with Will-O-Wisp, you can burn both, right, if they don't Terra Fire, right? So this is pretty cool as well if you have the Will-O-Wisp variant on you. But I think Abdullah is not running that. Yeah, he's just running Heavy Slam and Earth Power stuff, so that's okay, right? So but again, it's a really, really cool answer into the Koraidon Zamazenta stuff there. And then substitute Calm Mind, of course, you have the Fake Out Bros and the redirection support for you to able to do that, right? So then after that, as you scroll down, James is running Clefairy, Mienshao support. Again, just click Nasty Plot. And once that's set up, then you can just kind of sweep there. This Yotam, Chiyu Fluttermane stuff with Amoonguss is able to also do. Oh, one more thing about Heatran, by the way. With Terra Fairy as well, this is really strong against like Fluttermane Chiyu ideas as well. So, all the more reason to do that. But we'll do a whole video on that later. Now we go into something like this. Look at Jean Ulysses' team. That is a Rotom Wash with Foul Play and Will-O-Wisp. So this is what we're talking about. Just some niche mons having some variants here, or some cool ideas that you can slap onto your teams here. So this is Zacian, by the way. Already a B tier restricted here, and now we're just running stuff like Rotom Wash and Okidogi here, right? But look at this. The Rotom Wash, believe it or not, again, you have Levitate. So high horsepowers and earth powers, you can't really hit this thing. And then the Ice Rider, if it wants to click Glacial Lance, you resist that because you are also a water type as well. So Rotom Wash looking pretty good into that. And then at the same time, you've got Will-O-Wisp, you can burn the Ice Rider. You also have Foul Play, you can do really big damage into both the Ice Rider and even the Shadow Rider. It's not going to KO the Shadow Rider, but again, it's still going to do a lot of damage. The Safety Goggles, this will help you get around the Amoonguss, especially if they go like Amoonguss, Calyrex, Ice Rider. So that's pretty cool in itself. And then think about like Kyogre as well. You can resist its ice moves and water moves, and then you have Thunderbolt pressure into that as well. So that's also really nice. But overall, nice to see a niche here for Rotom Wash when you think about it here. And again, this is also great into stuff like Incineroar and other fire types in general, like another Chiyu, for example. So I like to see that. And then, of course, Okidogi with Guard Dog can't really intimidate this thing. And this puts pressure against, Incineroar because, again, you have that fighting coverage there. And then Urshifu with the Scarf doesn't even need Tornadus to outspeed and KO potential Shadow Rider there. And then here's your Landorus along with Rain Dance Tornadoes here, looking really good in that regard as far as like your Miraidon stuff. So nice, creative building with Zacian here. 7-1, I would love to see how far that goes. I would love to pilot that team too. So Jean Ulysses, right? If you're watching, yeah, hopefully you make the team public and we get a chance to pilot that. All right, then as we move forward, more Smeargle, Clefairy stuff from Ian Lee over here with the Shadow Rider. As expected, again, just it's all about trying to set up the nasty plot here. Okay, and then right here, Ryan Bingham, right? 7-1, Tinkaton with the Assault Vest. We've seen Tinkaton have some usage because, again, Mold Breaker is really cool. You get to, use that against Ferregraph, right? Fake out Ferregraph and then just potentially KO it immediately, right? Which is really cool. So I do like that. And again, you have Fake Out here along with Redirection from the Amoonguss. This is going to help you in the Trick Room ideas. But you have Feint here to break through the Protect and stuff. And also, technically, the Wide Guard, you could just do that. And then now Calyrex can start picking up KOs, especially against things that want to protect. So very devastating for that matter, right? So I like that idea. Just good to see Tinkaton, relatively high. Then you have this stuff with Tinglu and Screamtail here with Zamazenta, right? So this is pretty cool. Again, this is Sand Tomb Leftovers Tinglu, so you can trap things in, and then they take chip damage, and then the Screamtail, you can just do like Encore disable stuff, so they can't reset it because they can't switch out because they're trapped with Sand Tomb. So you have that. So nice ideas there from Jose. But then look at this one, right? Oh, by the way, we'll do this one first. So the return of Grimmsnarl, Wo Chien. Remember Justin Tang's squad from last year? So we get to see the return of that over here. But look at this, right? Regular Moltres with Covert Cloak. And we've seen that a couple times last year. But since then, nobody really has used it or even really explored it. But it does help a little bit because, again, Fire Flying, how does Zamazenta hit it? It doesn't, right? So think about this. An opposing Zamazenta, you can't really click Body Press all that well because Flying resists that. And you can't click your Steel move either because you're a Fire type also. And then at the same time, you're going to be taking big Heat Wave damage, a special attack, which Zamazenta can't really take all that well mostly sometimes, right? So nice little niche for the Moltres there with your own Zamazenta, by the way. So that's going to help into like the mirror ideas, I guess. And then at the same time, you get Tailwind from this Moltres along with Covert Cloak. So you got speed control on your side here, right? And then at the same time, look, you've got Icy Wind and Thunder Wave on this Fluttermane here. So lots of ideas for speed. And then you have Taunt, Urge here, Wicked Blow, Sucker Punch for going the close combat, right? Because what we're saying is we have all the fighting coverage we need here with Zamazenta. So the fact that we can find use for regular Kanto Moltres at this point, 5 months into a format, is kind of crazier. So hopefully we can see this go far as well there, right? So that's pretty cool. And then, the grass types in general, Rillaboom and Amoonguss, they're at its mercy because, again, Zamazenta hates Amoonguss, right? Because of the redirect support. But now you can just, smash that thing. And then you can even taunt the Amoonguss too if you really have to. So Moltres looking pretty good in that sense, right? Then things get interesting because now look at this. Okay, the Ice Riders, but now you're slapping on Tailwind on these Ice Rider teams here. So look at this. You have Tornadus, Urshifu, Chanpao. That looks like a very, typical hyper offensive core. And then Ogerpon, yes, you can see that. So look, again, Firewood or Grass Core. But then you have the Amoonguss Ice Rider idea here for your slow mode, which is very interesting. I'm very curious to see if this has any kind of speed investment because remember, at max speed Jolly, this thing will outspeed a Shadow Rider. So curious to see if this is Jolly 252 Ice Rider, right? From Kian Campbell. And then down here, look at this. You see more or less the same idea, but this is with the Cornerstone. So that's pretty cool here. But actually, no. This is the this is the Shadow Rider. This one is the Ice Rider. There we go. We got that right. I was gonna say, wait a second. We have the two same teams, just two different Ogerpons, but James is, this is James. Oh yeah, of course. This is James Evans' team. We saw him on stream here. So almost identical, almost, right? It's just, the other restricted, right? So that's pretty cool. Okay, this one. So this is the Zom Rain variant, again, with Pelipper. Usually you sometimes see Landorus on this, but not today. You still got Chenpao and Iron Hands here too. So there is a Trick Room aspect to this, right? Zamazenta, Fergap, Iron Hands, Amoonguss. So this is another way of piloting Zamazenta here. So shout outs to Lucy for this. This is pretty cool. Then you have classic Chen-Pao Entei stuff with Zamazenta and a bunch of support, so that's okay. Then from Chase over here, you have Miraidon with Ferrograph Ursaluna. That's the other kind of way of playing Miraidon too. And a little bit less common than Luca's team, but again, you know, more ideas and more different ways to play your restricted, you know, just depending on the pieces. Now, I would say this is one of my favorite teams of day 2 here. Look at this from William. How about this Koraidon team here? Okay, it's not Wolf's Koraidon team. Of course, it's not your other standard stuff with Koraidon. You still get Fluttermane here, but instead of Raging Bolt, we have Walking Wake here with Covert Cloak. And look at this. You've got Snarl on this Walking Wake. So now you have some damage mitigation, right? And then this is offensive Life Orb Fluttermane, okay, with D-Gleam, Shadow Ball, and Taunt. Okay, no Moonblast, but you got a spread move and a single target damage. But ultimately, look at this. This is Loaded Dice Koraidon with Scale Shot. So now it's like we're going back to Reg H a little bit with Dragonite Scale Shot. Why not Koraidon? Koraidon can do it too. So, you know, now you can break Sash ideally, and then you get a speed advantage this way, and then start clicking these big collision courses and these Flare Blitzes, of course, right? So this is pretty cool. And then at the same time, look at this Volcarona set. Tailwind here, and then Will-O-Wisp here. So you've got the physical damage mitigation here with Will-O-Wisp. You've got Snarl here, and then you've got speed control here with Tailwind. So support Volcarona is pretty cool on Koraidon. And then just a little bit of, just one damage move, right? Heat Wave. And then you also got Redirection. So look, you got Tailwind and Rage Powder here on this Volcarona. So that's cool. But look at the King Gambit here, right? So this is like your anti-intimidate here because you don't have the clear amulet anymore. So we're going with Gambit just to try and deter that. And then this is giving me my Dark type for the Shadow Rider, and it's giving me some advantage a little bit into the Ice Rider, right? Because you can wall out the Glacial Lance. You are weak to the high horsepower, but at the very least, you can even just tear that and kind of avoid it. But at least the Gambit can deter the Intimidate from the Koraidon too, right? And you also have a Rillaboom here to help you against Miraidon teams overall, just giving you that grassy terrain to override the electric terrain, and even against Indeedee stuff too, right? So this is pretty cool. You've got your Protomons, you've got the support here, and then you have your anti-intimidate. So I kind of like this Koraidon team here. This is really cool. So shout outs to William for something like this. Then we've got another Zacian team here, a little bit more standard that we've seen from Zacian with Tornadus, Regidrago, and anti-priority. Usually this will be something like Indeedee, but Ferrograph works as well, right? So nice to see a couple Zacians here within Top Cut. Not Top Cut, but, you know, getting into day 2 here. We have more Smeargle stuff here with the Ice. No, this is Shadow Rider. Oh, Smeargle Shadow Rider. Oh, okay. Usually you see this a little bit more with the Ice Rider. So I think that's also pretty cool as well. But what was really cool about that team was the, where was it? I just had it here. No, I think I missed it. Was it above? Oh yeah, right here. This is Calm Mind Raging Bolt. That's pretty cool. Okay, I didn't, you know, that's something that you normally don't see, but you have Fake Out, you have double Fake Out, and actually you have triple Fake Out. Okay, and you have the redirection to help you set up this Calm Mind here. So the Bolt Beam coverage is crazy when you have Raging Bolt and Glacial Lance there. Then you have Alex here, right? So Alex says, listen, I think we can play Pagos more offensively, right? Because the Calm Mind substitute ideas, you know, they're having their issues as far as like team construction. So let's just click Tailwind and let's go Choice Specs and let's just nuke, right? And we've seen this before, and Alex looks like he's done well with it so far. So let's see how far Alex can go with something like this. But Specs Starstorm is going to do a lot of damage. Then you have like Earth Power, Dark Pulse, of course, situational moves that you can click there. But again, you still have a lot of offensive threats here with Urshifu, Ogerpon, and Landorus. And all of these are going to do well under Tailwind support here. So I like that. And then Ferrograph, of course, you know, with the anti-Trick Room, anti-Tailwind Mirror stuff. And, you know, the Ferrograph does well with Pagos because, again, you can fake out your Pagos, right? But Ferrograph comes in and says, no, you can't. So you're going to deny any kind of that by a timely switch in there. So I like that too. But then look down here. Then we have this with the Ice Rider, and now you have Annihilate with the Scarf idea, you have coaching and Final Gambit. So you could even just coach this Ice Rider, or you could just get rid of something immediately with Final Gambit and go into something else like maybe Indeedee or Blood Moon or Ursaluna while this thing is clicking Trick Room. So this is pretty cool. Nice to see an Ape on some of these Trick Room teams too, right? You don't really see too much Annihilate right now, but nice to see that heading into day 2. And then this is the other way to play Miraidon as well. Again, this one's the Iron Treads variant, right? So you've seen the other 2 variants, but now you have the Iron Treads one. And this one with Iron Bundle too, which means you're going to forego the Whimsicott. So Icy Wind. What's really cool about Bundle is you outspeed the base 135s by 1 point, right? So your Icy Wind will go first, and then you just kind of just nuke things, right, with Miraidon and the Treads here. So that's pretty cool. We do have one Groudon team here, right? And this is another cool squad heading into day 2 that I want to keep my eyes on, because not only is it a Groudon, but it also has a Garganacl here. So remember how we put something like Hariyama with Groudon? Because again, with Hariyama, you have thick fat there, so it does well against the Ice Rider because you're taking reduced damage, and then you have Wide Guard and Fake Out support, right? Well, you don't have Fake Out on Garganacl, but you do have Wide Guard support, and then you also have Purifying Salt there, so, you know, Amoonguss is not going to be doing too much here. And then you could just force these one-on-one scenarios where you could just click Salt Cure, you know, click Protect and Recover, keep getting HP while they're losing HP. And then again, the Garganacl, you know, with its typing, it's not going to really take extra barrage damage either, right? So it can do well against both the Ice Rider and the Shadow Rider too, right? So nice to see that. And then, of course, your 2 Protomons with Flutter and Raging Bolt with Chiyu and Whimsicott here makes a lot of sense here. But nice to see Garganacl make a day 2 appearance there. So who was that? Shout outs to Toussaint, right? Then as you keep scrolling down there, a little bit more standard stuff here. There's another Koraidon team with the Ditto. This is a little bit more standard Koraidon that we've been used to seeing for a couple months now. There's the Heatran Screamtail variant yet again from Raghav. Again, we've seen this team a lot moving, leading into this. We spoke about Heatran already. We'll do like a separate video on Heatran after this. And then, oh, look at this from Alejandro. Another Lunala variant, right? This one is Grassy Seed Lunala because there's a Rillaboom here, so you're gonna get a defense boost. That's great against probably like Wicked Blow Urshifu, right? If you have that +1, then that means you can probably invest a little bit more in your Spadef and survive the Astro Barrage, right? So I kind of like that too. And you have the Calm Mind setup as well. So look at this. You have Grassy Seed for defense, right? Then you have Incineroar for more physical damage reduction. Then you add Calm Mind here for special attack damage reduction. So now this Lunala is looking very hard to break. And then you've got Wide Guard Pelipper to help you that as well. So now you're not even clicking Wide Guard on Lunala. Something else is helping you do that. And look at this. Now we have Hisui and Goodra there. What another niche mon finding its way. But look at this. Life Dew. Okay, that's going to help Lunala get back its Shadow Shield, right? So some separate healing there. And then again, Body Press here. So that's pretty good for something like Poggles, for example. And then at the same time, you have Sap Sipper. So you can swap that into something like an Amoonguss for that matter. Or, if your Pelipper and Urshifu are under pressure from Woodhammer or Grassy Glide, you can also just swap that in there as well. So this is pretty cool. Then you can just Body Press Incineroars as well. Heavy Slam, snipe some Flutter Mains too. So Hisui and Goodra finding a niche, which is kind of interesting. I'm not going to bring that, but Alejandro says, you know what? You're not thinking hard enough. You got to bring it, and it works out here. How about this one from Eric? How about this one? This is another one. Again, Miraidon Ursaluna with Whimsicott again, but how about Bulk Up Leftovers Annihilate? So we've seen 2 Annihilate variants. We've seen the coaching Final Gambit set. Now we've seen Bulk Up set here from this one, right? Which is interesting, right? But again, makes sense still. Drain Punch, really strong into Poggles, and then at the same time, Rage Fist, you can hit these ghost types too, and then if you have the speed advantage, you can just win, right? So the Annihilate can sweep you if you are not prepared here, and you have the Incineroar and the Orcapon to help you set it up. And look at this. This is Substitute Ursaluna as well, right? So on those final turns where they want to click Protect, you can just click Sub, and the Ursaluna is just kind of chilling here, right? So You have the Whimsicott for the Tailwind here, but what's really interesting here is that there's nothing here setting up Trick Room, so it's just standard Ursaluna that maybe you just bring into the Trick Room matchup, which is interesting in itself. All right, now you got Pat Barry here. So this is Justin's Iron Crown team, you know, with Indeedee, Venusaur, and Koraidon. We featured this on the channel a couple weeks ago, so nice to see this make a day 2 appearance there. So shout outs to Pat. Maybe they've adjusted some EV spreads since then, but other than that, this is the same 6. So nice to see Iron Crown as well make that day 2 appearance here. Then you've got this stuff here, the Wheezing Dondozo stuff, of course, with the Shadow Rider, with the Poison Gas chip damage, okay, and then cleanup duty from either the Shadow Rider or the Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, right? So this is Curly Tatsugiri. So, you know, but then down here, a couple more ideas. Look at Blake with the Talonflame as opposed to something like Whimsicott, which is really cool to see Talonflame here because, again, Gale Wings, priority Brave Bird, sniping another Whimsicott, sniping a Rillaboom. Think about how many people want to bring Rillaboom into Miraidon here. Now, your Rillaboom can get smacked by Brave Bird here. You also got Volcarona for that too, right? But pretty cool to see, okay? And then you still have Taunt on this Talonflame here. And again, it's non-prankster Taunt, so that can help you in certain regards, right? And then Protect too, so you can even preserve the Talonflame and maybe next turn click Tailwind again if it was your last turn previously. So I kind of like this nice little niche for Talonflame there. But look at this. This is Baton Pass for Rigraff, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? So Baton Pass and then just getting that switch out and coming in with something else. I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. But then one more down here. You've got Scott here. You know, looks like he's doing his best to play Reg H, but not really because you've got Basculegion, yes, which is going to do a lot of damage in the rain, right? We know this already. And then this can also outspeed Shadow Rider and just KO it with something like Last Respect. So this is like a really cool endgame option when you think about it. And then we have Rhyperior, okay, with Lightning Rod. We've used Rhydon before, right? But now we have Rhyperior with Clear Amulet. So this can still come into Trick Room and be a force and not worry about Intimidate because you have this Clear Amulet, right? And then Lightning Rod, again, soaking up Miraidon's electric attacks here. And then Rock Slide and High Horsepower Earthquake. So look at this. You can even click Earthquake with your Tornadus here, right? Which is kind of cool. And then Rock Slide, Pressure, and High Horsepower. That's good into a lot, especially like other Tornaduses. And then something like a Miraidon, again, just can't really take this High Horsepower all that well. So Rhyperior finding a niche in something like this, right? We've seen Rhydon. It was only a matter of time until we saw Rhyperior, right? So that was pretty cool to see there. And that's pretty much it. So like lots of niche options that we saw here in Vancouver, and nice to see them make some day 2 appearances. So curious to how day 2 pans out from here, but again, we'll keep our eyes on some of these results here, right? And best of luck to all of those competing into tomorrow, right? So anyway, let me know what you thought of day 1, and let me know what you think could come out as the victor after tomorrow for Vancouver here. All right, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video, the next one. Peace out and have a good one.